All right, let's dive into something that's been wrapped in mystery for centuries, the ancient symbols of Freemasonry. We're going to pull back the curtain a little and try to answer a really fundamental question. Where does all this stuff actually come from?
So, right off the bat, here's the central question that has intrigued people for ages. Where do these incredibly complex and ancient symbols truly originate? Well, if you look at the tradition itself, the answer is way, way older than you probably think.
To even begin to find the answer, we can't just look back a few hundred years. No, we have to go way back, all the way to the mythic beginnings of civilization itself, to a time before the Great Flood supposedly hit the reset button on the entire world.
You see, if you dig into some of the early Masonic manuscripts, they make this absolutely remarkable claim that the craft of these special initiated builders didn't start with the cathedrals in the Middle Ages. No, they say it existed in the antediluvian world, the world before the flood.
Okay, so there's this one Masonic constitution from 1701 that tells a really specific origin story. It points all the way back to the family of Lamech from the book of Genesis. And it says his kids, Jabal, Ubal, Tubal-Cain, and their sister Nama were the ones who discovered the foundational crafts of the world. I mean, everything from geometry and building to music, metalworking, and even weaving.
And here's the brilliant part. They supposedly knew some kind of great cataclysm was coming. So with this incredible foresight, they inscribed all their knowledge onto two giant pillars. One was made of marble, so it couldn't be destroyed by fire, and the other was made of brass, so it could survive a flood. It was like the ultimate backup plan for all of human knowledge.
Now, there's another parallel legend that centers on this figure named Enoch, whose name literally means the initiator. This story also involves saving knowledge from the flood, but it has this, more mystical vibe. He's said to have built this incredible 9-level underground temple, almost like a model of the cosmos, to hide the most sacred knowledge of all, before putting up his own 2 pillars.
Okay, so the knowledge was saved. Great. But then what? Who found it? How did this ancient wisdom get from those pillars into the great civilizations of Greece and Rome, and then, eventually, into the minds of the people building the cathedrals of Europe?
Well, the lore says this knowledge was carried forward by secret fraternities of builders, and the most famous of these were the Dionysiac architects. Now, this wasn't just some local construction union, this was a guild of absolute master craftsmen, guys who were initiated into the Greek mysteries. And they were the genius minds behind the most famous temples and monuments of the entire ancient world.
And this is where it gets really interesting. There's this clue hidden away in a 15th century English manuscript. When the king asks how Masonry got to England, the text names a Peter Gower, a Grecian. Well, it's pretty widely believed that this is just a simple English-sounding version of the name Pythagoras. And that's a huge deal because it creates a direct link between the hands-on, practical craft of building and the mystical, mathematical philosophy of ancient Greece, the idea that numbers are the key to the whole universe. You see, these ancient builders didn't just see buildings. They saw their work as sermons in stone. Their master architect, a guy named Vitruvius, he lays out their core belief. He says that sacred buildings have to have the same perfect symmetry and proportion as the human body, which they saw as this tiny, perfect reflection of the divine universal design. All of this, the pillars, the secret guilds, the sacred geometry, it all leads to the central emblem of Freemasonry, the Temple of Solomon. But here's the twist. We're not just talking about one historical building. It's actually a powerful, threefold symbol for the very nature of reality itself. So, temple number 1 is the big one, the entire universe, the macrocosm. They even break down the name Solomon into SOL, Om, On, symbolizing light, glory, and truth. This is the grand temple where the sun sits on its golden throne and all the planets and stars move around it. Then you zoom in. Temple number 2 is the human body, the microcosm. The idea here is that each of us is a little house that's built in the exact image of that great big universal one. It's a living, breathing temple, echoing that ancient belief that man is the measure of all things. And finally, we get to the third and most profound temple of all, the solar house. This is the invisible one, the fiery structure of the soul itself. It's described as this golden substance that's cast into the mold of our physical body. And to learn how to build this inner temple, well, that's what it means to become a true master mason. So why does all this symbolism matter today? Well, here's the crucial part. This isn't just a bunch of ancient history or some esoteric philosophy. It's about a living, breathing mission that is still going on. And that mission has a name: the Great Work. The idea is to look at all of human society as one giant rough stone, just pulled from a quarry. And the job of the craft is to continuously work on that stone, to polish it, to square it, and to ultimately transform it into a perfect, beautiful structure. So, you see, the real inheritance from those ancient Dionysiac architects wasn't some finished building. It was the blueprints. It was the tools for building a vast, invisible structure that is always under construction, the unfinished temple of civilization. And that brings us full circle, doesn't it? These symbols have survived for thousands of years for a very specific reason. It's because they aren't just historical relics. They're part of a living tradition that's full of profound meaning. The famous Masonic scholar Albert Pike, I think, said it best. He argued that the symbolism isn't just some fancy decoration. It is the very soul of Freemasonry. It's a symbolic language that's older than most of our modern religions, and it holds these ancient truths for anyone who can learn to read them. You could almost think of Freemasonry then as a kind of global university, and its curriculum is teaching the liberal arts and sciences of the soul. The idea is that within these symbols, you've got the preserved wisdom of Egyptian priests, Brahmin sages, and Greek philosophers, all there for anyone who wants to study. So, this whole journey through ancient symbols, it doesn't just end in a history book. It brings us right here, to the present, with a question for each of us. If the Great Work is this ongoing project of building a better civilization, it kind of forces you to ask yourself, what stone will you lay